Welcome back, guys. This is Lisa Mona from Lisa Mona Reviews, and today I will be reviewing My Dress-Up Darling by Shuichi Fukuta. Hopefully I didn't butcher that. Now, the manga has actually been getting quite popular these days, as you can see from all the merchandise and the new anime that came out. But is the manga and story itself worth it? I would say yes, but for certain audiences. This will be a two-parter of a review actually, because I've been wanting to split up my videos into 10 minutes except for 20 minutes as usual. This means that I'll have to split up the chapters that I've been reading. So I'll be reading up from chapter 1 to chapter 66, which is pretty far into the volumes, almost to the current volumes. And this also includes the fact that this manga is not quite finished yet. So this means that there will be a lot more time and a lot more parts to this review. With those spoilers out the way, let's get started into the review. Spoilers ahead if you don't want to learn about the plot of Dress Me Up Darling, and just get to the conclusion. Segment 1. Praise. My Dress-Up Darling is about a boy named Gojo-kun, or that's his synonym, whose parents died, and he works in a Henyon doll shop with his grandpa, which is actually very cute, by the way. I actually really like that relationship. And therefore, he decorates dolls. But a long time ago, a friend of his, a childhood friend, said that he was disgusting for it. Therefore, Gojo-kun doesn't really have that many friends. It is until he meets a popular girl, or Garu, a fashion girl in Western standards, named Marin Katagawa, that he finally starts to open up and become friends with her to help her cosplay costumes and learn about the meaning of cosplay, fashion, and the arts. But soon enough, the two definitely have a connection. Will or won't they get together in the end? Now, as you can hear from the summary, it's a love story / slice of life. What does this mean? Well, this means that the stakes of the anime will not be that high. And if anything, this will be more educational about a certain topic or viewpoint. For example, there are multiple pieces in the manga where you can actually learn real-life cosplay techniques. Like, how can you shape your eyes to look a certain way for certain characters? How there's different kinds of cosplay you can do. And rules in the cosplay community. Or the cosplay community in Japan, of course. Overall, it's very fun seeing how much detail the creator went into this. It's clear that she worked very hard into interviewing these cosplays to make sure it was authentic and not misinformation about the cosplay community. Of course, that won't be for a long time, but at least I know some of the techniques if I was going to start. Now, into the author herself. Shinichi is a woman in author, which is really cool, since usually most authors keep their gender anonymous, but it's definitely clear with Shinichi that she's a girl. And in her past, she looks like she did one-shots and only had one previous popular manga that she finished up for 100 chapters. I can't wait for My Dress-Up Darling to get that many. It's almost to the 90th chapter, so it'll be clear that it'll be in the hundreds soon. My Dress-Up Darling is probably one of her most popular and successful manga, getting an anime adaptation and likely getting a season 2 as well. Get the bonus content from her bonus stories. It's very funny to see her adventures as she slowly gets to get more popular and people start to recognize her as doing the manga itself. This kind of storytelling in its bonus features of the author herself's biography almost is really fun to see, and behind the scenes of how she did certain topics. For example, she called real Henya dolls and even tried to cosplay herself to really get the experience of how to do it. So overall, this mangaka really does care about her product and its fans, so no need to worry. Now let's get on to the art quality. Segment 2. Art quality. Next to the art. Shinichi, or Miss Fukuoka, in America for me, is actually very good at drawing. She can draw Marin Kitagawa very, very well in her full 2 pages. And there are many shots of her in different fashion and different clothes, which means it's clear that she studied how clothes work and how it does in the body. She also does very good on close shots of Marin's body, which means I guess she knows a lot about anatomy. She also knows how to draw in different styles as well. She doesn't have one style at most, and can draw in more cartoony 80s retro style, shoujo manga style, or even in more character video game style. Really shows her skills in character creation. Another great aspect about Fukuoka as an artist is the fact that she's really good at drawing multiple different kinds of characters. Marin is actually supposed to be very, very pretty in the manga, being the most popular girl in school and in her class. This means that it's probably important to draw other characters as not as pretty. This is important for artists if they want to accentuate how pretty a character is or how unpretty another character is. And luckily our author knows. She can draw regular people, old people, and of course Gojo-kun, who is kind of just the average guy. This also includes how she draws Marin differently when she's in cosplay. She can clearly draw Marin's beauty in different ways, whether it be her having a tan, or her having sharp teeth, or her being a magical girl. She really knows how to do her stuff and making sure that Marin looks different in every cosplay she does. Of course, there are some issues with her art. In the backgrounds, it's pretty clear that she has to reference very heavily on photos she has, because backgrounds are hard. And she also needs to heavily reference the crowds that she sees as well, when there's multiple characters around. Her colored pages are not as entertaining to be colored. For example, usually someone would color a page like an aquarium area because it's very entertaining and to look at, being colored and not in black and white. But sometimes she'll color pages that don't really need to be colored and do it just because it's the usual way to do a manga and have some colored pages for exclusivity for a volume. And that's a little bit disappointing, but of course it doesn't make the art horrible. We should get into the writing portion. Segment 4, Writing. Now, we must judge this manga in its genre, which is ecchi, drama, and slice of life. This means that there will be a lot of fan service for boys and girls, and this also means there will be a low stakes and a slow burn on its romance, so the characters won't kiss immediately, and likely won't get into a relationship till the very end or near the end of the manga. Now, the writing on Marin in particular is very, very nice. I love the dynamic of Gojo-kun, who's an introvert, and the extrovert girl, Marin, playing around and joking, and slowly becoming best friends almost, and slowly Marin and Gojo having feelings for one another. It's really nice I've seen in also the ways they think in their mind. For example, Marin thinks very simply and doesn't really prioritize certain things, while Gojo-kun, being the boy, will be overthinking a lot of things while also starting to learn slowly lessons in the story, like relying on others or learning to appreciate how others do cosplay. The background characters are also very nice. I really do like Marin's whole class, which they all have different boys with different personalities and backgrounds. I think that's really nice. And I also like her cosplaying friends. For example, there is a lowly character, self-proclaimed. That means she looks a lot younger, even though she's older than almost both the characters. And her little sister, who looks completely different and is tall and big-chested, is really funny. Look at their dynamic. There's even like a cross-dresser, so they really do kind of every really eccentric characters in the first few chapters. They kind of winded down afterwards, which is a little bit sad, but don't worry, I'll talk about that in the criticisms area. Currently, they're getting those characters back into the story, luckily. I really missed them because they were really funny, dynamic, and also shows how cosplay worked and the issues and struggles people have in cosplay. Let's say, for example, the big chested sister wanted to cosplay as a boy. Well, it was really, really hard for her to think of cosplaying as a boy and be even any flat-chested characters. Same for our petite character, because she has almost no chest, so she's also short, so it's almost really, really hard for her to figure out a cosplay to make herself look taller. So usually she has to choose really small characters or child characters to act as. And it really does, I really liked how it addresses issues that will come in cosplay. How your body won't look exactly like the character, and how you must try and do different things to accommodate for it. For example, the big chested character had to use a lot more like corsets and ways to hide her chest and shoulder pads to make herself look like a boy. And I don't know if they did anything with the petite character just yet, but I hope they do something soon, because it'd be really cool to see how do you look taller when you were very short and trying to cosplay someone who's really tall. But these issues have always been the cosplay community, but it's good to see the struggles that people have. And the struggle between, do I want to make this cosplay as accurate as possible, or do I just really want to just cosplay for fun, you know? Well, now that I praised all the writing and stuff, now it's time to go into the criticisms area. Segment 5. Criticisms. One of the biggest criticisms that My Dress Up Darling has is probably for its large fan service to boys, in particular. This means that there's a lot of shots of Marin's body and her booty, so there's a lot of booty shots. And this means that the age range definitely goes up for teenage boys and older, because it might not be appropriate for some people. There's also the fact that Marin is supposed to be kind of younger, so she's in like high school kind of, I think, from what I hear. I don't really care, mostly because it's kind of fictional, but I do know that if some people care about that kind of moral in their stories, this story might not be for you. Although it's hard for me to like try and change her age if I was like to change the story, because a lot of the times Marin and Gojo being 15 to 16 years old and young and not knowing is a big part of the experience that Marin has. And not only that, but like all her classmates as well all are also big in the experience. Now I can see it trying to move to college age still, but overall it's kind of an important part of the story. This also shows the issues in having fan service in your story, because, well, yes, there's actually a very, very large ad campaign. For example, Marin is very, very popular in all her figures and her little Nindoroids and dolls, and even like cosplays, because she's so cute and everything. Though this does mean that the author probably has to sacrifice certain things. For example, this can't really be a children's story, even though it has like high schoolish characters, because their parents might be comfortable with it. And this also means that the fact that it has booty shots means that everyone who is working with her knows of this. So there's actually this very, very funny incident where the author was talking to a Henya doll shop, a very traditional kind of religious shop, to get accuracy for the dolls, because the character itself has a Henya doll shop. So they were doing it, and she realized she didn't want really them to read the manga because it's kind of, shy. But suddenly she realizes that they did read the manga, and in order to get to those certain parts, they have to get through a lot of fan service and a lot of things that are kind of weird to talk about, like anime, manga. So this made her very, very embarrassed to know that her business partners know what she's like drawing with all the booties and the boobies and everything. So this actually does show that if you're writing a series and you're kind of like writing like fan service of your character, kind of be careful who your business partners are, because it might be a little bit embarrassing to have them read through it and realize what you've been like watching and stuff. This also means that your show will have a kind of love it, hate it style, where people really can't get into it because of the fan service, or people will get into it because of the fan service. So there will be a little bit few neutrality and neutral people who will just bear it and take it, because this fan service is quite heavy in the first few chapters. In fact, if you are not okay looking at people's booties and people's chests, I would actually not recommend this manga at all. Especially for the people who are religious or have like children who want to see it. It's definitely not a really kids-friendly manga, in my opinion. But it is a great example of seeing how should you have fan service or booty shots in your characters or not. So that's a good lesson to learn from this, is that the pros of this is that you get a lot of advertising, a lot of figures and everything. Cons is that your business partners and your family will have to read. You have to be ready for your family to read this and be okay with it. So that's one big thing. But if you really want to look into the story and like support it, I actually would recommend volume 8 of My Dress Up Darling. If you want to read the story of the manga, check out the story, but not have as much of heavy fan service. In fact, there's almost little to no fan service from what I really seen in volume 8. And if you actually look into the later chapters, its fan service really does tone down quite a bit. So people who are actually looking for that might actually be quite disappointed if you're going to read this. For me, I didn't really mind, because I love Marin's personality and fashion so much that I just fell in love with it. So let's go to our conclusions. Final segment. Conclusion. Overall, My Dress Up Darling is a very, very cute manga. If you are really sad and don't really feel like doing much, reading this manga will really cheer me up. For example, I was actually really sad one day, and I just read this manga all day because Marin's character in particular is so happy and just so easygoing that it made me feel better about myself and realize that, my problems are, just regular. Now, as you can see from my video, you learned a lot about fan service and whether it's worth it or not. And you also know that this manga is only for certain audiences, mature audiences only. So do not give this manga to your children even though it looks really pretty. Do not do that. Hopefully you have been warned, but if you are a mature person, this means like to the character's age range 15 to 17 and older, then I would recommend it for its cosplay etiquette and education. I actually really like it. The art's very nice, the characters are pretty, the characters are pretty wholesome. But remember that I only read up to chapter 66, and I will put a part 2 of me finishing up to chapter 90 and beyond. So stay tuned for that. But overall, the manga is pretty good from that stage point. In conclusion, My Dress Up Darling is a really great manga, and you want to support a female creator who really cares about her fans, then support this manga. And even if you just want to support the female creator, just buy volume 8 if you don't want to see the fan service. In conclusion, see you next time. Please subscribe to my video and press the like and comment on what you think about My Dress Up Darling. And if you think in your series, would it be worth it for you to have fan service or not? And in conclusion, see you in the next video. Goodbye.